hopefully the sound is okay. Let's see if I have everything up and running. You guys hear me okay? Do I need some volume? How about that? That's good enough volume. Is that good enough? Yeah. Hopefully. Okay. Good. Good. That's great. So we can have volume. Today has been busy for me, and so my tone may seem a bit more, kind of instructive. Don't worry about that. Just tell me, don't be instructive. That's what Angie tells me. She'll say, you're not my commander. That's what she says. Not my commander. So just tell me that, and then I'll tune everything down, and we'll be good to go. We'll be squared away, 5 by 5. Folks, you know what? Yesterday, when we were talking about the beast technology, I think it's important that you guys understand just what that is. I really think that people suspect what it is, but they really don't understand what it is. If you don't understand what it is, you certainly can't visualize what we'll face in the future. Now, I'm going to hit on some parts of technology you know about, but you really don't know about. Stuff that you have in your hands right now, but you don't know what it's doing. You've heard rumors of what the technology can do. No one has really validated what that technology can do. No one has really come out and just said what the technology can do. And as some of you may know, believe it or not, I'm involved heavily in technology. So I'm going to share with you some things that you might want to know. And if it gets a bit lengthy, just say, well, just calm down. Just calm down, guy. You're feeding us too much. What we're going to talk about today deals with neurons. Everybody has them, neurons, and if you don't have them, that means you're something else. You're from a different world or something. But the brain is full of neurons. They're all over the place in your brain. They're individual cells, nerve cells. They're connected by what's called dendrites and axons. It's just connection between two cells. Okay? Whenever you see something, whenever you taste something, whenever you move, neurons begin to fire one to another. The firing of the neurons is a small, tiny electronic signal sent through your pathways or those connections of dendrites and axons throughout your brain, throughout your body, too. They travel really fast. It's estimated that those signals travel at about 250 miles an hour. That's like pow. I mean, they're traveling pretty quick. Now, because that cell is quite tiny, you have billions and trillions of them in your head, right? So everything that you do, these neurons are firing away. I mean, your brain is full of electrical activity. Key word. Your brain is full of electrical activity. Now, the signals are carried by ions, which are all over the place. They're insulated. By myelin. Just call it myelin. I call it the M because I get the pronunciation wrong. So you effectively have cells with connections that fire every time something happens with you. And they fire all over the place. What they fire is just simply a pulse. It's a pulse. It's a pulse or it's not a pulse. So it's like binary code operating in your brain. That's beautiful. It's beautiful because, number one, that was engineered. That's obvious. That was engineered. That's the way your brain works. Now, the key word here was electrical activity, signals and electrical activity. Your thinking patterns, your movement, and everything else is measured by the potential in electrons or the potential of energy in your brain. Your brain is an electrical machine. It's an electrical machine. Your memory and your thoughts again, they fire away. Because it's electrical in nature, that actually yielded some very interesting research that took place a long time ago. Anybody ever heard of robotized transcranial magnetic stimulation? Just call it TMS for short. Anybody ever heard of that? What that is, well, that's actually a system embedded into what's called brain-to-computer interfacing. Brain-to-computer interfacing. What brain-to-computer interfacing is that when your neurons begin to fire, some of those electrical signals escape. Those signals are detectable. They're detectable. What are they detectable by? Electronics. A computer system. Because all of those signals have potential of, let's call it a small dose of electric current. They have a potential of electric current that can be measured. They escape. They can be measured. When they're measured, every time you think of something, your thoughts also are carried by these escaped pulses that come out of the membrane. Your thoughts, your movements, your memories, and everything else escape you all the time. Everything you think about and everything you do is being effectively transmitted. It's just that nothing a long time ago was available to pick it up. So computers operate with binary code, ones and zeros. A 1 and 0 is simply this. Think that as a water faucet, that water is electricity, right? A 1 would be to turn the faucet on, it's moving. A 0 would be to turn it off, nothing's moving. So when you put these ons and off, on and off, on and off, in a large string, you can have different combinations of those 1 and 0s that interpret. It's called data. You can interpret that. They've done the brain the same way. Most of you have electronic devices that function. Computers operate by 1s and 0s, on and off. Little tiny switches, on and off. Made possible by the out there. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, your brain operates the same way your PC does. The only difference is they can't combine the two. To your knowledge, they can't combine the two. Listen, take that curtain down and listen to me closely. That curtain has been down for at least 13 years. The technology has been fine-tuned. The language of neurological activity has been mapped. It's very efficient. So if you have a thought in your head, your thought can effectively be picked up by a receptor that's close in your proximity. Has to be in your proximity. It's like an EEG that they're using on you all the time that's picking up these potentials. Okay, you guys got that? Your cell phone does that. Your cell phone does that all the time. Nobody's aware. Nobody's aware. Oh, well, not many people are aware. Anybody ever heard of functional near-infrared spectroscopy? I messed that all up. Just call it NIRS. Anybody ever heard of that? Or functional magnetic resonance imaging. Anybody ever heard of that? Or transcranial focused ultrasound. Nobody heard of that? All these things are used for the brain. You see images of the brain, but they took it one step further, telling you now that they have the language to your brain. In the same way this technology worked, part of the TMS system, your cell phone, your tablet, computer system, and so forth, can pick it up. They can pick it up and tell the very thoughts that are in your head. Now, it's a receptor. It's a receptor, folks. Listen to me. The BCI systems, brain-computer interface, system, it receives those signals of your thoughts, movements, and everything else. Here's what you don't know. That information is captured, is translated into binary code, received through some type of TMS system. They can process that information back in the visual cortex of the human brain. It triggers a full experience in the receiving brain, a complete experience. In other words, someone can see what you're saying. Someone can think what you're thinking. Someone can be right there with you all the time. Now, a long time ago, they had to place the sensor right below the skin, right below the outer layer of the skin. They don't have to do that anymore. They have several systems working in tandem to fine-tune the reception of the signal from a distance. They've also, because they created a standard in electronics, you see, there are forbidden frequencies that electronics cannot transmit with. They're forbidden because they mess up the sensory instruments that are out there, so you can't use them. When Wi-Fi came out, Wi-Fi was specifically engineered to be a type of assistance. But this technology works two ways. Not only can they receive your thoughts, but through your optic nerve, they can also transmit thoughts, memories, your perception. They can alter your perception and everything else by bypassing quite a few receptors going straight into your visual cortex, which is processed into the brain. And at the moment, you may not think about it, but later on, you'll have strange memories that are not yours. Garbled memories. Some people walk around and they wonder, well, how come I don't remember that? They're talking to somebody and they'll say, I don't remember that. But I remember this, and somebody else will say, well, that never happened. Yep, must have, because I remember it. No, it didn't happen. It never happened. See, they've been playing with this technology for a long time. Right now, it's perfected. It's perfected. Part of the beast system has to do a lot with this. Now listen, if they begin to garble your memories, and it's different for each person, if they begin to garble your memories, they can effectively change the way you live your life. They can change your beliefs. They can change a person from the inside out. They can effectively change your identity very slowly. Now, the testing of these things, as like transmitting one person's thought to hundreds of people, the unsuspecting public, which, by the way, is harmless as far as your physical body is concerned, is quite damaging concerning the memories, because if you give a person a new memory, your brain attempts to rationalize that memory. So it's receiving a rush of signals that don't belong to you, and it has to process it somehow, which garbles past memories. It garbles feelings. It causes you to feel irritated out of the blue. Causes a great many things. This is part of the beast technology. It's not simply something you wear to identify you and say, yep, you can go to the bank and this, that, and the other. No, it's far more than that. Far more. They have tested to the degree they took an unhealthy person with chronic pain, transmitted the patterns or thoughts or feelings of a healthy person, and the person who had pain, their pain went away. Their pain went away. Why? Because the receptors changed their perception. Remember I told you guys, perception is everything. If you think you're in pain, your body produces a pain signal. You know, it's no mystery that people can go to the dentist and they can change the way you interpret pain. Instead of pain, they can make you smell strawberries. Instead of pain, they can evoke creativity in your mind so you never perceive dental work painful. They alter the way you perceive the pain, and it works. It works effectively. Pain is a protection mechanism in the body. It's up to the individual, how they process it. And how they process it is based upon a person's faith. Remember I told you they know exactly who is who? They know the limits of your faith by these small things. That's the capability of your body. You are in control of your body. But if you don't believe you're in control, you have zero control of your body. It's automated. You can take control of different systems of your body. That only happens through your faith. If you believe something, your body responds to it. Your body makes the necessary changes to accommodate your spirit. If you believe it. If you don't believe something, then your body's left to the devices of this world. That's why you can cut your finger or have a bad wound, but if you don't know that wound is there, your body does not perceive it yet. As soon as you look at the wound, pain starts to shoot out of nowhere. See, because you didn't pay attention to it, your body processed that a different way. Pain is a signal. It's not actual pain. It's a warning signal. Do you guys understand that? You see, if your neurons begin to transmit a different signal, nobody would perceive pain. Not one soul would perceive pain as pain. But it's a warning signal. The body has a mechanism in it to protect itself, to give you a cue to pay attention to a hurt member. That's the protection mechanism in the body. They know that everybody has the ability to change their perception. And this technology has already made that possible in a great many people, and it works for the opposite effect. They can induce pain where there is no pain. They can cause you to have phantom pain. This technology works two ways. This will be put in and by the way, due to the advances in nanotechnology, a tattoo can hold all the receptors needed for transmission and receiving directly to your neurological systems. You see, electronic devices are in a container, right? Listen to me, they're in a container. It's nothing but silicone spaced in different ways, silicone and germanium, conductors and so forth. But if they had a material of silicone and germanium and they tattooed that on you, there's no need for a container. You become the container. You effectively inextricably become intertwined with the technology. It's just a tattoo. But because they're tattooing you with raw materials, it's not a visible tattoo. It's not a visible tattoo. But your body absorbs it, but it stays contained in one central area. In other words, people who are in fact tattooed with this stuff, it's not the tattoo you would think. They've had patches they put on people. In 24 hours, they remove the patch, and the elements are then they're grown into the skin. They become part of your skin. Your skin, being the biggest organ, is the beginning of the sensory pathways. So your skin becomes the device itself. Nobody knows you have the mark, but every time you get near technology, you can interface with it without words. So you don't have to speak with this technology. Nothing has to be heard. You can effectively communicate with another just by thought alone. You don't have to use words. That's why quadriplegics are no longer quadriplegics. That's why blind people have sight. Not only sight, but they can increase the spectrum of what a person can see by bypassing the visual cortex, the optic nerve, and so forth. They can send the signals directly to the brain. The information allows a person to see in very high definition with depth. That same technology is also used right now to allow others to see in different light spectrums. What's going to happen? No, not voice to the skull. You see, when you hear something, listen to me, when you hear something, it stimulates neurons. The key is neurons. It stimulates neurons. It sends the signals to your brain. The brain then figures out what the neurons are communicating. Optic nerve the same way. All of it, eventually, your eyes and your ears are sensor devices. Think of them as sensor devices, much like a microphone or camera lens. This information, even an electronic device, is sent to a peripheral and then is translated into binary code so the processor can do its thing. Then you have usable data, or data chunks of which to transfer into whatever you want to do. They don't need to use your ear. They don't need to use your optic nerve. They can communicate directly to your brain. Directly into your brain. They know the language of your neurons. So they can communicate it and bypass the optic nerve going directly to the brain. The brain knows what to do with the information because it's already familiar with the information. See, as you were growing up, and when a blind person sees for the first time, that within itself is a feat of engineering because their optic nerve, in effect, has never processed visual information. Somehow the brain automatically knows how to process visual information. And it does. They bypass the optic nerve. In some cases, they have re-stimulated the optic nerve, and the person is no longer blind. They can see in many spectrums a very different way than you do. They can cause a person to see with X-ray vision. Different light spectrums. Infrared. Different light spectrum. This is just a portion of the technology, but it is a highlight of the technology that's being used, that's further being perfected. Now they have nano devices without the casing that does the same job. Now your cell phone, everybody's cell phone, the processor does not work at 100%. just sending a text message, processing a phone call, doing this, that, and the other. It does not work at 100% doing that. Your cell phone, the ones today, are thinking devices. They're thinking, processing, crunching numbers. That information is collected. Cell phone companies have this data. And to the cell phone company, people who run the place, is unusable data. But all that data is kept and crunched in different locations. And grab that information right out of the air. Believe me, everything is being used to refine TBI systems, MPCI systems, and TMS systems. Which is why they have bionic limbs for people now, which is why they have exoskeletons for people. Which is why quadriplegics can now walk and move around and everything else. That's only possible if you can figure out the language of neurons. You can only re-stimulate neurological connections if you know the language in the first place. It's already happened. So they already know. Here's something else that's been happening that a lot of people don't know. Now, we've had technology for quite some time. We've developed a habit. We have, in effect, evolved a way that we think, and nobody's really aware of it. There's a reason why young children operate differently than you did. You see, when we were growing up, when I was growing up, and you're sitting here looking at black and white television, and phones were nothing like they were today. Everything was very simple, right? But it wasn't difficult for us to operate any of these devices because our parents were out there. They experienced this technology. What nobody ever figures out is that what we learn is passed down to our children. They improve upon what we learn. You see, one blood cell holds a great amount of your memories and your personality and what you know and everything else. A lot of people don't know that. One blood cell holds that information of you. It has the DNA of you. So when you have a child with all this technology introduced, they have a natural instinctive awareness of the technology. In fact, they can work a smartphone before they can tie their shoes. They can work a Kindle before they can tie their shoes. They know how to use the electronic devices. They understand the symbology of the electronic device. Now, many people are aware that we moved away from words to icons. We have moved into a world of iconography. The language is changing. Pretty soon in the future, there'll probably be no words. It's going to be hieroglyphs again. In the past, they used hieroglyphs, which stood for many different things. We're going to do the same thing again. We're moving away from words. You comprehend much faster with imagery than you do just by reading a word. And for kids, reading words becomes useless and senseless. They look for the icon. They know what it means. One icon can hold much more information, is processed much faster. That's why the coordination of the children is much, much higher than our coordination. But they're relying on an external system that we just simply don't have. The coordination of children in the computer world is off the charts. It's off the charts. It's just really off the charts because they're not burdened with the rules that we put in the wording of everything that we spell. They're looking for specific things. Their visual acuity is extremely sharp. Their thoughts are faster. Why? Because they grew up with our knowledge and they're adding to it. when they get to their 30s or 40s, their knowledge will supersede ours by extreme margins. Thanks in part to technology. And it just so happens that the processing of binary type information and iconography changes perception of future generations, changes everything. It has converted people from morality to pure logic. That's what it's doing. It's converting people from ever having any idea of what morality is into logic. And these kids today don't understand morality. It's useless to them. Morality is useless. This is part of the system. The kids are being adapted to live in a world that will probably drive us nuts. We're going to take a break. I'll be right back. Kara, I saw your question, but I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Okay, folks, I'm back. Did everybody get a refill on the water, coffee, or anything? Hope I'm not boring you with this conversation, but it's absolutely 100% real. It's in effect, and it's a cause and effect type issue that just needs to be covered because it's happening. You know what? I guess the Lord wasn't joking when he said, take captive your thoughts. Something's happening, which ties into something even creepier than this conversation, because we're talking about the tangible things that are happening right now. This is just the beginning of a very large conversation. This is not the impactful information either. This is to help you understand what's actually in the world and what's actually going to be implemented. That's what this is. If you can understand this, and you go back and do your homework on it, you're going to find out that it's probably more expansive than you thought yourselves. Don't sit in the seat of, I don't believe anything until I see it. That's why people are going to take the mark. Most people won't even, you know what, they're going to want the lifestyle so much that they'll just sign papers and go with anything. Well, listen, this technology allows people to communicate from one to another without words. This technology allows them to communicate directly from one brain to another. Some of you might say, well, I can't see how that works. All you have to do is in your own time go research bionic limbs that they have made that work based off thoughts. Now, how hard is it to transmit that information to another body? If they can have bionic legs for someone who has no bottom half, and they can walk effectively because it's processing their thoughts, how hard is that to transmit it? You do it every day on your cell phone. You speak verbally into a cell phone. It's transmitted through the air to another person that can receive it. You send text messages with your finger. Your movement is being translated through a computer, sent through the air, received by another person so they can process it with their visual cortex. See how that works? Neurological science is far beyond what most people can imagine. The language of the brain has been mapped. The behavior of neurons, the connections with dendrites and axons, all of these things have been perfected, so to speak. They've been perfected. You see, a lot of people realize they rely on the tangible world, which kills and destroys their faith. It's a faith killer. That's what's happening to our children now. Children are dependent on external devices. External devices. Children have lost their ability to have faith. They can imagine, but they don't have faith. They are immersed in a binary world that delivers instantly what they want. This beast architect is going to capitalize on that. And some of us too are we're the same way. If you don't respond to a message by text message, Skype, email, social media, you're in trouble. Because the other person will say, why didn't you respond to me? You don't like me. You didn't respond. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I'm just not using the computer today. How about that? I'm the only one that if I don't respond to a message, nobody's going to say what's wrong, because I don't make a habit of, I'm very bad at responding like that. But the world, they don't know it. This instant delivery system of information is destroying their faith. They're losing the ability to have faith. They're losing that ability. See, there's a huge difference between a real believer and a non-believer. Did you know what? A non-believer can attempt and they can try to believe, but it won't work. Their seed is a seed of this world, not of the Father. You see, a seed of the Father can overcome anything in the world. You've been empowered to do that, so this technology will not take its toll on you. It will not. I'll say that again. It will not take its toll on you. But a person whose seed is not of the Father, but they are in fact the tares among you, they cannot function in a world of faith. They can't. All of their comfort is in the world they're from. So eventually, yes, they're going to have to show themselves. It gets difficult for them to fake it. Doesn't matter if you sincerely thought they believed in the first place. Let me tell you something. In the end, the seeds will be exposed. It was told to us by Jesus himself that this process would take place. The wheat and the tares will be separated. The tares are the seeds of Satan, which were raised with you, born into this world just like you. They have a different master. They have a different father. They have a different set of instincts. They have a different set. They operate differently. They believe differently. They can't believe like you believe. Your siblings can be one. One of your parents can be one. Your cousins can be one. Your friends can be one. But in the end, the separation takes place. All who belong to the Father will not be lost. They'll just eventually wake up and come out of the world. They will. Period. All those who fall away from the faith never belong to the faith in the first place. They are tares. That's why I'm always discussing. These people are going to fall away. To get you used to it, so that when someone close to you falls away, you can say, okay. Not point a finger and condemn them. Don't beat yourself up as though you made a mistake somewhere. But to understand this process must take place. You see, when the offenses come into the world, people are going to be drawn to their roots. If they do not belong to the Father, they will join in with the violence. Period. Okay, back to this technology that exists, is out there, that you hold in your hands, that you're accessing right now. Robotized transcranial magnetic stimulation. is usable technology, wearable technology, part of the brain and computer interface, BCI. Translation from the brain to a computer and back to the brain again is working very well for those who have developed the system. It's working very well for quadriplegics. They can also put a shirt and pants and socks and gloves on an individual and transmit their entire body motion to a robot. So that person can be walking down the streets. You'll never know it's a robot, but it's being controlled by somebody that's miles away, interacting with the public and everything else. They're not getting tired. They're just transmitting their motions, their balance, and everything else, and because of the feedback, they can sense if the robot's about to fall over or not. It's just like you walking in the street, but you're not there. It's a robot walking, not you. Future wars will take place this way. You'll have people in beds, immersed in an environment suspended by types of strings in combat. But the robots will be in combat, controlled by human soldiers. There'll be no pain, no uncomfortable feelings, and that they won't harm the human body. You'll feel the feedback. You have to feel the feedback so that you can function totally. It'll be instant feedback. Imagine that. So, these things exist. There are certain drones that operate this same way. Most drones are autonomous, which means you can give that drone instruction. It already has the capability to alter its course, to evade, to rethink its flight path. Just like a Tomahawk. It has on-the-fly computations it performs until it hits its target. That's why one can fly down the street, make a right turn, then make a left turn at very low altitude, and eventually hit its target. On-the-fly computation allows it to adapt to its environment. And the battlefield is ever-changing. Ever-changing. Neurons are the key. A lot of people didn't know the brain operated like that. You have small things in your head called neurons that fire pulses through dendrites or the connections, axons from one neuron to another. Did you know that the Earth is the exact same way? Why are components in the human brain modeled after the Earth? What in the world is the Earth? Most people think it's just a rock. Only the public believes that. Science, understand, is far more complex than that. That's why we have anomalies that nobody can explain. Because it's not what you think it is. Why are cells, proteins, even inside your body, why in the world, even down to specific constants that are in your body are also found in the Earth and in the solar system, which they think is also in the universe? Why? Why? One cell in your body contains the information of you, just like the Earth contains the information of human. In fact, the Earth contains a lot of information because it has living organisms and this, that, and the other one. They call that a symbiotic relationship. You see a thunderstorm on the bottom. You never see what's happening up top. You don't know if life forms are feeding off the electricity or, in fact, causing that electricity. Nobody understands why Saturn has that hex stuck on it for so many years. It's not going away. Though most have theorized that Saturn is not a planet at all. But inside of Saturn is an artificial structure holding everything together. Those same individuals who are inside the DoD, the military-industrial complex, also believe that inside the Earth is an artificial structure. It's holding everything together. In fact, they did the computations. The sun should have burnt out a long time ago. Half the stars should have burnt out a long time ago. The Earth should have burnt out a long time ago. But it didn't. The moon holds geosynchronous orbit by itself. That's impossible. You have a 23-year data chart that proves that the moon is making micro adjustments every second. Every 2 or 3 seconds, I'm sorry. Micro adjustments are being made to the moon every 2 or 3 seconds. We see the same side of the moon forever. That's impossible. That's impossible. There's no other satellite orbiting, no other structure like the moon orbiting another planet in geosynchronous orbit. It's impossible. Why does it adjust itself according to our water level? What in the world is that all about? That lets you know that everything was engineered. And you know what this conversation is doing already is it's fighting the idea of evolution in your head. See, you're Christians, but evolution is so deeply intertwined into your thoughts, it's difficult to comprehend certain things. Evolution does not work. That can be proven by studying the language centers in the human body. Why we have language centers. Why our vocal cords are so complex. And everything else doesn't have it. If we came from monkeys, why do monkeys still have no speech centers? Someone lied. In fact, it was already found that most of the monkey bones in the past that they found, they put them together with various species to prove a point. They try to perpetuate evolution. Darwin's theory of evolution. See, Darwin hated the church. He despised the church. So other people picking up the calls start sticking together little species, and they say, well, there's a missing link. 10 years later, oop, there's a missing link. 10 years later, oh, well, there's a missing link. Wrong, they're all false. They're false. They found human bones carbonated to 22 million years old, just like us. So if that's the case, what happens to the monkey theory? There is no monkey theory. There's no theory like that. That's just absolutely ludicrous. Even the scientists know it's ludicrous. But the theory of evolution stops people from asking questions. That's why all curriculum must support evolution, or it cannot be a curriculum. They don't care what they, if it does not support evolution. It's not in the curriculum. Mankind was engineered, made in the image and likeness of God, of the Creator who created everything else. Period. The fallen angels came and tampered with them. That's where the mutations came from. Then all of them were destroyed. Most of them, the other half, went underground. A lot of people think that in the garden, that the snake talking to Adam and Eve was metaphorically stated. That's what they believe. Well, if that's the case, then why do they have bones, real bones, with the skin still stuck on it, of species that look like us, but their heads are different? Why did they really find the bones of stuff with bird heads? This world was out of control. It was stuff walking on the face of the earth, highly intelligent, just ugly in appearance. Why are giants, the bones of giants, still found in Georgia and Russia and Ukraine? How can you have a femur that's 14 feet long? Somebody figure that one out. How can you have a perfectly shaped human skull that's as large as a 5 foot tall human being? Can you imagine a head that big? Those were in the days of the Nephilim. Hey, I'm thankful they got destroyed by water. I wouldn't want to constantly deal with stuff like that. But it's so hard to get Darwin's theory of evolution out of the brains of Christians that they can't see anything else. They can't see the plasma, gelatin-type creatures that hang around in the upper atmospheres. NASA knows it. Those who fly reconnaissance, they know it. They hang around in the atmosphere. You can't see them from the ground because the atmosphere it kind of conceals them. They eat toxins and stuff in the atmosphere. Every so often, a rock will pass by and hit one of them. Then everybody has a gelatin storm that makes them all sick. See, if you get so far up in the atmosphere, gravity won't pull you back down again. You're just stuck up there. Same way people thought at one time there was no life underneath the surface of the earth. There's nothing that lives down there. They thought no life could ever exist inside volcanoes. Wrong. That was wrong. They thought no life could exist at the bottom of the ocean. That was wrong. They thought nothing could exist without sunlight. That was absolutely wrong. Every comet that comes in has traces of cells in it. By the way, you've seen Nephilim yourselves. You've seen the bones. They're called dinosaurs. They just really threw a big one on you with the dinosaurs. They did. They really threw a big one on you with the dinosaurs. These are large species that existed at one time. Put stuff together and everything else. Sunflower, those are some of the species that, or some of the things that operate above the atmospheres. But it's almost like they're more and more being seen. With every storm that we have, these things are clustering. They look like, they themselves look like jagged, they look like they have cactus limbs or something. But light travels through them, kind of like a jellyfish in the ocean. That's what they look like in the atmosphere. But they're weird. They just look weird with tentacles and everything else. They're just strange and weird. And when we have a storm or discharge in the atmosphere, they get illuminated and they go away. Dimensional bends are happening. Folks, dimensional bends. On the 37th parallel, they know that's a very unstable region around the Earth. The 37th parallel is full of cracks where stuff can get through. How many are aware of that? It's full of stuff where stuff can get through. Stuff is falling through from another dimension and just coming into this world. And mankind is stupid enough, ignorant enough to work with them, to attempt to contact them. Folks, they're contacting demons, is what they're doing. These things are very seductive. How can you trust anything that can take the form of anything? Think of that. If it can take the form of anything, why in the world would you yourself invite it into your home? Yeah, they were redeemed. That explains the rib cages, human rib cages they find in the sides of mountains that are visible by satellite. And the hip bones, human hip bones, skulls with 2 rows of teeth, 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. The elongated skulls have a different cranial structure. Now, when you smash your head together, the volume does not increase in the skull, right? And the bone density changes, correct? If you had a water head, the bone density changes in the skull. They don't change in these things. And they're made very different than human skulls. Some of them have no eyes. They have no eye sockets. A big head, a big skull, big elongated skull with no eye sockets, no ears either. So you can't trust the history that's been placed in front of you. You really can't. Either we're going to believe in the words of our Lord or we're not. Because if you don't, you're going to be shocked and shaken when the world faces these things again. Even the governments of the world, and certainly Russia, is extremely worried about the encounters to come. They're very worried. Fighting nation to nation is one thing. That's being conventional. That would be fine if it were just conventional, but that's not the case. Russia has been having problems with intrusions for a very long time. People are dying in Russia. Troops are dying in Russia. Stuff is being found, live little critters, hybrids, I guess, that are just abominations. They've been dealing with that for a very long time. The United States, we cover everything up. We deny it. Anybody in the Air Force, when you begin to talk about certain subjects like that, you know what they'll say? Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Because they've been briefed. Certainly if they've dealt with aircraft or rode in aircraft, these folks are briefed to leave that subject alone. Just to leave it alone. Police have already been given manuals. Fire departments have been given manuals. Schools have manuals. You know what those manuals are for? How to deal with non-Earth-based vehicles and entities that may land in specific areas. They have protocols on how to approach them, who to call, and everything else. Why would they make a manual? They treated it, by the way, an absolute priority that everybody would be experienced. So you got to ask yourself, what are they expecting? What are they expecting? Because now they want their civil forces absolutely briefed on how to handle a situation if one of these things just pops in and lands. It's because an infestation is about to take place. We're already starting to see the spiritual manifestation. It's only a matter of time before the physical before their parents get back. I call them their parents because right now people are not dealing with fallen angels. They're dealing with the children of the fallen angels. Here's how it works. The fallen angels came. They mated with women. Their offspring were called the Nephilim. Some were giants. Some were incredibly intelligent. Some were abominations. In every single case, the Lord kept their lifespan to 500 years. When they died, their spirit did not go to rest, did not go to heaven. They would be known on earth as evil spirits and or demons. People have been dealing with demons But when the 1/3 of the angels were cast out of heaven, with Lucifer cast to the earth, of which in Revelation they gave a woe, then the real war begins. Once they lose the war in heaven, all those things are going to inhabit these false bodies they built to do their work here on earth. The beast system is not conventional. People are going to deal with things they simply don't understand. The Bible says that people are going to be more precious than anything. To find another human being is going to be precious. Yet people don't believe it. Fear makes a person not consider things. A wise person will consider all things. A fool rejects any wisdom or knowledge that they deem unfit for themselves. That's what Proverbs says. A fool rejects knowledge. A fool does. But a wise man considers things. He's also slow to speak and quick to listen. A fool is quick to speak, slow to listen. Things will be descending on this planet. Now, that sounds wild and weird, but that's absolutely going to happen. They're going to come from both the sky and from the oceans and the volcanoes. And if you're not covered by the blood, you're likely going to be dinner or an experiment or something. You might be their lunch or I don't know. I just know that if demons are full of such rage and they can scare people to pieces who have been affected by demons, what do you think a full manifestation of their parents is going to do? What do you think a fallen angel is going to do? They just lost the war in heaven, cast to earth. Do you think they're going to be nice and polite to everybody? Or are they going to take things by force? Who can make war with the beast? Who can call down fire from heaven when he wants to? Do you think this guy is conventional? What are the fallen angels limited to once they're stripped of their powers to go back into the heavens? Technology. Technology. What happens every time anybody hears of a UFO crash? You know what? Backwards engineering is real. When the fallen angels fell the first time, they shared what? Technology and methods and ways and information with mankind. What do you think they're doing right now? What is every government pushing for? Technology. Listen to me. They're pushing for technology. They're pushing for technology. They will have weaponry to stand. All the armies are going to have weaponry to stand against the Lord and His holy ones. They're going to think they can fight them. Are you kidding? But in order to fight something that's coming like that, the Lord and His holy ones, they absolutely have to believe things are out there. Don't they? Don't they have to believe things are out there in the first place? They're not going to prepare to fight phantoms. They have to believe that something is out there, which means something came here first. And that stigma is broken forever. You guys understand this? The stigma of life being out there is going to be broken forever because things will absolutely show up. They're going to show up. All the little UFOs that are hidden in this and the technology and whatever manifestations people are seeing, they're going to show up. The Bible tells us that these days will be a tumultuous time, so if you're not under the blood of Christ, you better stop playing like you are. You do yourself an injustice. If your walk is not real, you do yourself an injustice. For some of us, knowing this stuff, when you find out or something you saw yourself as validated as being real, it's sweet. But when the reality of the situation kicks in, it's going to be bitter in your belly. The only security anyone could ever hope to have is being covered by the blood of the Lamb. Nothing else can protect you but the blood of the Lamb. Nothing else can protect you but the blood of the Lamb. This is why most people encounter these things before they get to the age of accountability. Has anyone noticed? Before it clicks in your head, hey, I can be saved, you're visited or you're seduced or they attempt to seduce you before you're at the age where you can make a finite decision, I'm going to serve the Lord. And as soon as you begin to serve the Lord, guess what happens? They give it a last shot. Yeah, they may come back when you're weak and so forth, but I'm telling you, they can appear in any form they want to. And it's a seduction type of deal that they're doing to the entire world. When people say UFOs and big triangles and stuff, listen, they're not being seen by accident. These things are seducing the world. It's changing the way they think. They're changing the psychology of the entire world. And people will accept them when they come. They're going to think they're from the Orions or some other place, not knowing they're bound to the same realm you are. There's no hope for them. The blood of the Lamb is real. The blood of the Lamb and the Holy Spirit can stop technology from working on you. For those of you who have ringing ears, listen to me very closely. When your ears ring, you know what you need to do? You need to simply ask your Father, remove that. Don't get curious about your ear. Ooh, the ear, it sounds like a signal in my ear. Because it'll go dee, 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 dee. And sometimes it's like something turns on and turns back off. Quit toying with it and pray about it and say, Lord, please take this away from me. It fascinates people when their ears ring like that. Makes them think, oh, I might have an implant. And it makes them curious. Listen, all of that is part of a seducing spirit. All of that is part of a seducing spirit. Stop toying with it. Don't toy with it. Don't toy with it. They implant a suggestion in your mind anyway to say you're special. That's why we need you. Now, if they could be shown in their true form and a demon came to you and said, well, the reason why we want to possess you is that you're special. Is that seducing? No, it's not. Because you'll know it's a demon. But when you're fascinated by their little tricks and methods, you're fascinated with the efforts of demons. Please understand that. There were operations that took place in the Middle East. They began to uncover pyramids and so forth. Some very real things took place and people were taken. Why? Because they sat there and worshipped the things. Oh, yes, we deciphered all this information, and then sure enough, 72 people were taken within seconds from something that came from the Orion cluster. They were taken all right. Condemned. Don't let them seduce you into thinking, into you thinking. Those are your real creators, because that's going to happen. They will present themselves as angels of light. They will say, we are the ones that created you. You see, Satan and his folks always mix the truth with a lie. In the beginning, the Elohims made man in their image and after their likeness. You're going to hear that term again. Everybody forgets about the Elohims. They forget about that. They forget about how the Lord established a hierarchy. That's why angels are also under Michael. Angels are also under Gabriel. The same way we have a power structure. What do you think? We just made that up? No. No, we didn't just make up a power structure. Because the Lord has. Satan was a covering cherub. There are forces under the archangels. Many, many angels under the archangels. You know what? When Michael stands up, it's just not him. There's going to be a lot of angels standing up. Guardians that are attached to people will also stand up. There's a hierarchy. Don't be deceived anymore by these seducing dodos that are out there. They have no power over you. The only thing they can do is seduce you, and they will seduce the world. The world will worship the dragon that gave power to the beast. They will. They will. We see the spiritual outcome of this thing already is called violence. But they're going to lie to humankind. No matter the instructions they carry out. It's all a part of seducing. If you're within the blood of the Lamb, you got nothing to worry about. Listen, they're beginning to test people right now. They're poking and prodding to see where your faith really is. If they find a weakness, they will attach themselves to it, exploit it. Hope you heard that. They will exploit any weakness in you. We're going to take a break. I'll be right back. Okay, folks, we're back once again. Thank you all for joining me this Saturday. Let me get boring. Let me be boring to you. Hopefully. Lots of crowd here for some reason. You guys who understand about this technology out there, correct? You're holding in the palm of your hands the many seducing things that are coming upon this earth. They're in formation. Over the years now, people are always fascinated by these lights in the sky. They're real. They're going to seduce. They will seduce. CERN is highly active. They want to tap the potential of other dimensions. Sorry, we got volume. How about that? CERN, one of CERN's missions is to tap the energy potential in other dimensions. That comes with consequences. You know, the CERN facility is absolutely real, correct? They're not going to spend all that money just to collide particles all day long. No, they're trying to tap energy from another dimension. Doing that. They're tapping the potential of energy from another dimension. They have special facilities in Australia which are doing that already. Australia's a place that you don't hear it mentioned, but they have some pretty quirky things that happen in Australia. A lot of the laboratories, scientific laboratories, the ones where they have invested quite a bit of money, are right there in Australia. That's why it's heavily guarded by a great many nations. They don't like people going around in Australia getting too close to these places for that very reason. Strange things happen in Australia just about every week. I guess it's so common there, a lot of people don't even pay attention. They just don't pay attention. You know what? There are occasions over these facilities and places that they, and again, Australia sits off the 37th parallel. But it is a magnet for weird things to happen. They always have some type of lights and things going on there that people really don't talk about a lot, but things absolutely take place there. I remember in 2011, pilots were being terrified, going into shock from something they were seeing in the upper atmosphere. It became a problem. Still a problem. Nobody knows what they were seeing because they're shocked. If they're just in shock. You know, some things you see can just really take you back a bit. But most of those silly lights are found, most of the real happenings are located on the 37th parallel. Consequently, do you guys know what else is located on the 37th parallel? Anybody know? Look for the Air Force bases that are located on the 37th parallel. You'll find something very interesting. From California all the way to the East Coast, you're going to find something very interesting. Then you're going to say, why in the world? What is really happening here? Let that open your eyes. I'll give you a hint, Air Force. Kim, there are natural frequencies which allow us to operate like we operate, to think like we think, that exist in the solar system. If they were ever altered or changed, we'd be in big trouble. We'd be in big trouble. But you know what, this conversation today is I'm attempting to, you know what, I see, listen, I'm going to share with you my concern. Here it is. The beast architecture is real. Told you guys, they're putting the paddles on the heart of the beast to bring it to life through violence. Yes, Cookie, it has something to do with that, but my biggest concern is this. I don't want people to be unaware. You don't need to walk into and operate in the beast system not knowing what it is. You have your idea of the listen, if everybody had already, I want you to listen real closely. Listen to me very closely. I want you to ask yourself, in Revelation, why did so many people fall into the trap of the beast system in the first place if they knew it was the beast? Listen to me. If the beast system was so obvious, why did so many people willingly join the beast system? Why did so many people willingly worship the dragon that gave power to the beast? If it was so obvious, why would it be possible that even the very elect would be deceived? If it were so obvious, why? Listen to me closely. If you have an imagination of what the beast system is going to be, what it's going to look like, your imagination, you're underestimating, because you're thinking of it as a conventional system. It is not a conventional system. It is not. It is something beyond the bounds of your imagination right now, and it's absolutely going to take place. They have been psychologically preparing everyone for a handover. They know this is coming. They will absolutely hand over their authority to this system because they can't fight it. The reason why they're going to hand it over to this system is because there's no way to fight it. But if you're thinking of this as a conventional system, you're messing up. You're messing up already. You read Revelation and so many people missed it. They missed it. I don't know about you, but it makes you ask yourself, what in the world, how in the world can the very elect almost be, if it were possible for them to be deceived during this time, if everybody knew what was actually coming? Right? You can't be deceived if you know what's coming. You can't be deceived if you know what's coming, but listen. People are underestimating and they're conventionalizing what the beast system actually is. That's why it's so deceptive. Number one is because it's very seductive in nature. It's very seductive. Hard to recognize. You see, the Bible said those who had intelligence on it, they would die. Some of them, a lot of them will be killed. Those who knew about the beast system, they'd be killed. Everybody else is left in a fog. Now remember, at that time, there's going to be trouble in the world. not conventional. Sunflower, that's one of my favorite scriptures. The beast, who is and was not and yet is. The world, listen, those who observe this will wonder whose names were never in the book of life from the foundation of the world. Do you know what that means? They're going to wonder where they came from. They're going to behold this thing and say, did I come from it? Is that my lineage? Or I come from God? People attempt to convince that listen, ancient things of old are coming back again. I'm telling you now that if the fallen angels fell and mated with women, they were flesh and blood beings, described in the book of Enoch. But they manifested themselves in the flesh and blood beings. They had babies. The Indians have real thorough stories of them because their kings were the product of the men from the stars who came down to the earth. Mated with their women, had babies. The babies were taken back up to the stars, educated, and then sent back down on earth. They will be far more intelligent than any human being. Your only hope is in the blood of the Lamb and your faith in Jesus Christ. If that ever wavers, you're in very, very thin ice. Many people will be overwhelmed in a majestical world. You're going to be overwhelmed because we have a tendency to get fascinated with things that we never thought existed. That's one of the problems. We get fascinated and blown away. If we get blown away by technology, if people because Michael Jackson used to sing to them, what do you think's going to happen when something no one ever thought existed begins to manifest on this earth? And the ancient things of old begin to walk again. People are absolutely going to flock to them. When they have the answers to everything and can prove it every day of the week. People will be healed. People will be restored. People's limbs will grow out. They'll have an answer for everything. They will make life a utopia, and people are going to want to be part of this system, period. They've been psychologically preparing civilizations here on earth. Those of us with spiritual eyes will see their true form. We'll know the truth of them. For those of us who can't see that deeply, you're going to have to rely on the truth of the Spirit. And you're going to have discernment to know in the body of Christ who is real and who is not. Who has that capability to see and who does not. That's when unity is going to mean everything to you. All of us have different gifts. Not all of us have our eyes open to such things. Because we work as different members, different capabilities. If we can't trust one another in the body of Christ, see, that's why you need your discernment. Most people think discernment is to point a finger at someone. Wrong. That's not discernment. That's the work of another spirit. God didn't give you discernment so you can point out the faults of another. That makes you a fault finder. That means your discernment is coming from Satan himself. Don't use that. That's not a gift from above. Your discernment is to know what is what. That's what true discernment is. But we're looking at a situation that the Lord said, if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. Do you understand what that statement means within itself? Do you understand? And you know what? No one's addressing this topic and subject, folks. I'm beginning to see why people are going to be deceived. I'm beginning to see because no one's talking about these subjects yet. The first thing they say is, oh, no, don't talk about that. That's out there. Well, yep, it is, and I'm crazy enough to keep talking about it. I know it's a deep concern of mine. At least those of you who heard it, although you may not be able to communicate it, those of you who heard it can stand up for somebody else who knows nothing about it. And you can say, I heard about that. Don't go there to this person or that thing. Don't be taken by these things. You know what? A seductive spirit is a marker of Satan, folks. To seduce someone is a marker of Satan. It's very seductive. It's a marker of Satan. You do well to remember that. Azazel, one of the fallen angels, in fact, taught women how to do this, to seduce their mates. A fallen angel taught them. He also taught women how to put on makeup. He also taught men the art of war, how to make weapons. Everything seductive the fallen angels taught mankind. Then their hearts began to get corrupt with all this type of knowledge. The things that were preserved that mankind was not supposed to know. Because once you learn something, you now have to deal with it. I'm telling you now, I feel in my spirit something extremely different about next year coming up. All I can tell you right now at this present moment is this. Prepare yourselves spiritually. Immerse yourself mentally into the words of your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Remember His words in the Gospels of Jesus. Please remember His words that are in the Gospel. You know what? All the other reads are good, but if you don't know the core message of the Word, of what you live under, which are the words of Jesus Christ, all the other stuff you know is not going to serve you very well. And yes, Enoch is a very good book. There's a lot of people that don't like the book of Enoch because they say, well, it's not part of the Bible. They don't understand the history of the Bible. Why the books are in there that are in there and why the ones that didn't make it aren't. They don't comprehend it. They never looked it up. They never researched it. They never understood the history of the disciples who absolutely knew the book of Enoch because it was a read. They used to read it. They used to study the book of Enoch. It's not just some made-up book, but in the book of Enoch itself, it says, in the days that they'll read the book of Enoch, people will be selling books, interpreting things for God, making money, and so forth, and putting lies in their interpretation into these books, but that the book of Enoch would bless the believers. And it does, because it speaks about Jesus Christ. It speaks about all the patriarchs. It gives you the true reason for the flood. Why mankind is like it is. What's going to be happening in the last days. Why some people are oppressed. Why that's necessary for God's people. It gives you the answers to a great many things. But above all things, understand the words of Jesus Christ to you. I can't stress that enough. None of those books would do you any justice if you don't know the words of Jesus Christ. And if you cannot believe the words of Jesus Christ, the Bible's going to do you no good. You need to understand the blood of the Lamb. Why does it protect you? Why does the blood of the Lamb protect you? Let me tell you something. If something protects me, I want to know about it. I don't just simply say, I believe in the Lord Jesus, I'm forgiven, and that's enough for me. No. I want to know who Jesus was. That's in his Gospels. Learn the person of Jesus Christ. I know some people think I'm nuts today, but so be it. Let me be nuts. Because when the hammer falls, the truth of everyone will be exposed. Some strong folks like myself are going to run like chickens. I'm prepared for it, but none of us are ready. I may run like a chicken. I may cry out to you, Lou, help me out. I'm scared to death. But we need to be aware. Revelation tells us a great many things, and I'm telling you now, even the people in Revelation who lived in that time were not ready for what was rising. How in the world, if they were not ready, then no one shared what was actually going to take place, did they? Because if you absolutely know what's going to take place, you're going to be prepared. You're not going to be scared or anything. Well, yeah, if you know beforehand. That goes to tell you that it's outside the confines of our brains. There are other elements to revelation that are not in the box of our comfort. It is not a conventional system that's rising. There's another element that no one wants to address. And the Lord allows things to happen for a reason. He allows stories to be brought to the forefront for a reason. Why do so many professional people put their careers, reputation on the line to tell people the ultimate truth about these lights in the sky? Most of them come to the conclusion that the activity of these lights are parallel to demonic activity. Why? Because paranormal activity surrounds UFOs. They don't operate by the laws of this world. Demonic activity and the activity from these things are one and the same. People hear rumors about underground bases, Dulce, New Mexico, cattle mutilations, human mutilations. Someone's trying to tell everybody what's happening, but according to Revelation, they didn't listen. And those who knew the truth, they're going to be killed if they attempt to tell the full truth. If you're looking for the absolute full truth, you better ask the Father. Because anybody who attempts to tell you the full, exact truth will no longer be able to tell anything else. The Bible says that. Some of those having intelligence will be killed, put to death. Ask your Father in heaven. If you need to know it, He'll let you know. Ask Him also to clarify your role in the body of Christ. How many people do that? Ask the Lord to clarify your role in the body of Christ. Most people don't know what they're capable of doing. What their true calling is, they don't know. Ask Him. He's your Father. Ask Him. Say, Lord, what am I to ask Him? Nobody on earth can tell you what your calling is but Him. If He called you, He didn't call John Louie over here to tell you what your calling was. Do you know why you're called? He'll tell you why you're called. Normally it coincides with a passion that you have, so you never get tired of what you're called to do. You don't get tired. You can't be defeated in what you're called to do. You feel like giving up sometimes, but something within you rises up and you keep doing it. Everything is coming together. Be aware, be sober. But this technology is it's only one grain of sand on all the beaches of the planet. One grain of sand. Mental communication without a device. But with the advent of this technology, is already employed. People are running around with implants, they don't even know they have them until they go get an X-ray or MRI or something. They don't know they have them. They'll say, what is that? Well, I don't know what that is. They have no memory of it being put there. Then they take it out, extract it, and it's a silicone-type structure. And unlike any other thing that enters the body, it attaches itself to your nervous system, to your nerve endings, which is impossible, by the way. Nothing is going to attach itself to your nerve ending without some type of... Your body responds to things, to foreign items that are in your body, not these things. Neurons or your nerves begin to grow to it. Your nerve endings grow on it. Now, I just told you about the technology that mankind has, how they interface with neurons. These implants that sometimes people don't know they have. What do you think that's used for? Demons are stripped of a great many powers, so they have to rely, just like the fallen angels, on technology. Now, if the fallen angels had to rely on technology, well, what do you think what do you think they're doing right now? Why do you think mankind is pushing so hard in their development of technology? Why? They can take many forms, but they are stripped of certain powers. They don't have their full capabilities. And so technology assists them in places where whatever they can't do, they build technology to perform it. They understand how everything works. We understand the residue of how a crumb works. We don't understand how everything works. That's why you're going to see lying signs and wonders. Lying signs and wonders are not true signs and wonders. But these things know how to manipulate matter and everything else. That's a lying sign and wonder. They can't command anything. They can only manipulate things. That's done through technology. They can't command anything. God can do real wonders. He can make the water molecules change into something else. That's a true wonder. They can't do that. They can't change matter or anything else. They can only manipulate it. God can tell the sun, okay, that's enough for you. Go throw yourself into another solar system, and we don't have a sun. God can undo everything he did, and we wouldn't exist. He'll speak another word, and who knows what'll happen. He's in absolute control. These fallen angels and demons can't do that. They manipulate things. They manipulate. That's a lying sign and wonder when something is manipulated. God doesn't have to manipulate. He created it. He can create anything he wants to create or undo anything he created. We exist by his pleasure. Do you guys know that? For his own pleasure we exist. Things exist for his pleasure. For his pleasure. He's not bound to anything. Nothing can stand against him. He is God. And it's amazing that he sent his son for us, of whom he gave the keys. He gave all the keys to his son, Jesus Christ. But Satan is coming, folks. And when the angels say, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth, that is not a good thing when they say a woe. They didn't say woe to the inhabitants of the earth when the flood came and everything was killed, except Noah. They didn't say a woe. The woes were saved for Revelation. That means very bad time. A time that's like no other in the history of all God created. This is it. This is it. And there are seducing spirits all over the place. The beast. If the Lord permits me, with our Saturday conversations, I need to tell you as many aspects of the beast system so you can recognize it as possible. You need to know about the technology involved. You need to know how that technology is in place now. You need to learn to recognize it so you don't fall prey to it. Because whatever you can't recognize, you can easily adopt. If you don't know its true purpose and cause, you'll adopt it. You'll say, ooh, this is great. And some people may say, oh, no, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, it is. That's why you have a new cell phone. Because it's better than the old one. No, you do the same thing with your new cell phone you did with the old one. You selected it. People are breathing smart dust. People say, well, no, I'm not going with anything GMO. Well, too bad, because all the animals drink water. And where's water come from? It's in the oceans and lakes and everything else. Genetically modified organisms are in the clouds. They're everywhere. You can't escape that stuff. That's why you need to pray over your food. How about that one? Because if the cows are drinking genetically modified organisms, what do you think is happening to the cow? Whether you've raised the cow or not, it's ingesting genetically modified stuff. Pray over your food. You can't escape this stuff. You're always exposed to it, though it has not taken its effect on you, and why? Keep praying over your food. I pray over mine. I could eat tree bark and I'm still going to pray over it. I always pray over my food, no matter what I eat. I've eaten food that other people got poisoned by and didn't bother me at all. You don't know if you're going to be subject to food poisoning. You pray over your food. There's some things I don't take concern over, because I already know I can't escape it. So I might as well do what the Lord is instructing me to do and quit trying to fight what He instructed me to do. Stop trying to circumvent the word of the Lord. Going around. That's what happens in Scripture when they say, well, if you knock us down, we're just going to build it stronger, defying God. I'm not going to defy Him. I'll pray over my food. I'll thank Him for everything I ingest. He can change the substance. He can make something that is not nutritional, nutritional. How about that one? So absolutely, I'll pray over my food. I cannot believe it's 4:55. You guys talk too much. But I hope you did get some good information from this today. Certainly understand it, know about it. Start looking at these systems. Specifically, the robotized transcranial magnetic stimulation system. Look that up. These things are in play. They're operational right now. No doubt some of the articles you're going to read, although astounding, they're about 30 years behind what's happening right now. Okay? Think of that. I'd say more like maybe 100 years behind in that area. Yeah, I did. What we're going to do with the lightning, we're going to split that up into another one, because there are things above the atmosphere that are taking its toll, and people are going to be quite scared by, which will be, listen, there are organisms all over the place. The Earth is not just some big ball of volcanic rock in the middle. It has a structure. It has a function. The Earth is a sphere within a sphere. And the entire sphere has life in it. The Earth was made to contain life perfectly, contains life perfectly. But the other planets were too. Because let me share something with you. There are things that are not supposed to be here because they left the first estate. But their body temperature is about 600 to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what their body temperature is. Which means if they touch something, they're going to burn it up. But the Earth was engineered. So was the moon. So was the sun. So are all the other planets. Nothing just came out of a big bang. You know what? If God created all things, and He created you too, look at how intricate you are designed. The moon is also intricate. It's not just a ball. It's intricate. The Earth is very intricate, very detailed, still full of mystery. All the planets have a specific function. They're not just there to give us wonder from here. They have a function. Everything God created has a function. Everything He created has a function. And by the way, He knows the names of every light you see in the sky. Now, if He knows the names of them, and He knows the names of you, are you just some simple organism? No, you're a very complex life form. And He knows your name. The Earth is a very complex structure. All the stars that you see in the sky have very complex functions. They're not just out there little blazing balls of rock. They serve a specific function. And they are perfectly engineered without flaw. And God did that. Did not happen with the Big Bang. God did it. The Big Bang does not support the complex structures of our universe. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Over and over again, they attempted they're trying to make it work. They can't make it work. What's actually out there and the theory contradicts. They don't work. Everything was engineered. The Big Bang is when man looked out there and saw all this stuff and their head exploded. Well, how do I fit this into the theory of evolution? You can't. We need to find out how all this happened. God did it. But they want to find out how it can happen absent from God. How stupid is that? All they have is nothing, but instead they try to prove every other way. Now they're coming full circle saying there was a creator. This stuff is too perfect just to happen from a Big Bang. It's too precise. Everything is too precise. Everything is precise. And it has a very specific function. Folks, I got to run. It's 5 o'clock. Hope I didn't bore you too much. We'll cover some more of this in the weeks to come, certainly about the beast architecture. That's so important for people to get to. And that term full stop, you're going to hear that publicly. And don't forget the coordinates of Tatum. I gave you guys some coordinates, and Tatum still has those coordinates. Stuff is forming. That's a time marker for tactical positioning, by the way. Anyway, folks, I got to run. I love you. Thanks for joining me again. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully in the coming weeks, if the Lord permits, we can find out some very interesting things of why those people in Revelation fell prey to the system in the first place. God bless you all. Stay vigilant this weekend. Stay vigilant. Let nothing overtake you. Let nothing overtake you. Stay focused and stay rooted. In Great Bay, I thought that was a real bug. Now that's a good one. I thought that was a real bug. But stay rooted. God bless everybody.